Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm going to be creating an Aussie themed Christmas card using my Winsor and Newton professional field box. These are the colours that I have in my box at the moment. And I'm going to clean it up using a baby wipe. These little pallets at the side are plastic, and so the paint just comes off very easily. I also have a pocket brush that comes with this set, and it has a nice small tip on it, so that'll be great for details. I'm using a stamp set from Close to My Heart. This is D1666, Believe in Christmas Holiday. Has some gorgeous stamps on it. I'm going to be using the Santa and the Sleigh and Believe in the Magic of Christmas. I'm using a very budget-friendly watercolour paper here by Canson, and I've cut it to the maximum size of my stamping platform, which is 8.5 inches by 6 inches, and I'm scoring it down the middle and then putting it opened up onto the platform using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is my favourite ink for all stamping. It is waterproof and is great for fine details. So I've stamped the greeting in the bottom left-hand corner, Believe in the Magic of Christmas, and Santa and his sleigh I've stamped into the upper right-hand sky. I'm going to tape this down to my work surface using some masking tape. You could also use washi tape, and it has about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and this will give it a nice frame. I have a masking pen from Molotow. This is art masking fluid. And I'm going to create the moon using a circles template from Staedtler. Or you could use a small jar to create the circle as well. Trace around that. So I'm tracing the outline with the blue pen and colouring in a little bit inside of that outline just to ensure I don't get any paint there. You could also use colourless masking fluid. This is from Winsor and Newton. If you are using this, use a very old brush to apply it. Now I'm masking off the sky area, remembering the rule of thirds. And I'm going to start painting the sky. So I'm starting with a very wet, watery wash of Winsor Blue. Lots of water in my brush, and in fact I'm going to keep adding water as I wash this across so that it's very wet. Now if you didn't have masking fluid, you could just very carefully paint around the moon, around the outside, but masking fluid makes this very simple. So there's the Winsor Blue. I'm going to add in some Paynes Grey, which is a very dark blue, because I want this to look more like a night sky than a daytime sky. And the paper's still very wet, so I can keep laying down more and more pigment without any streaks or blooms happening. And as long as your paper's wet, you won't have hard edges. It's going to take several layers for this paint to be dark enough. Watercolour always dries a lot lighter than it looks when you first put it onto your paper. And you need to let it dry between layers. I'm going to be using a hairdryer. You could use a heat tool for this, but you'd need to have it on the low setting and be wary of melting that masking fluid. You don't want to do that. I'm applying Paynes Grey in a very thick consistency to create cliffs on either side or shoreline. And you can see what a beautiful crisp horizon line that masking tape creates. It makes it very simple. Now I'm going to put the tape a little bit higher up, and there's going to be about 1/4 of an inch of white space left between the horizon and where the beach begins. I'm using a mechanical pencil. You could use a very sharp HB pencil just lightly to sketch in the beach area here where the sea is running into the shoreline. And I'm going to use my Princeton brush, the size 12 round, to wash in all of that area there with some clear water. And now I'm going to drop in raw sienna for the sand. And I'm going to add burnt sienna, which has a lovely Aussie red earth undertone to it, just to give the sand some interest and to make it look darker, more like a nighttime shoreline. I'm doing the same on the right-hand side, washing in the clear water in that area. And now I'm going to drop in the raw sienna again. And I'm going to get my pocket brush ready because I want to do some details along the edge there. Now with the detail brush, I'm adding some burnt sienna on the edges, underneath in particular, the lower part of the sand, to give it a bit of shadow. Dropping in some burnt sienna. And this is creating a lot of nice texture in the sand, which provides a lot of interest in the foreground. In the foreground of the painting, there's always going to be more texture detail, generally speaking, than anything that's further away. For instance, the cliffs are just a pure silhouette. I'm adding this Paynes Grey in quite dark, and it's very watery, and I'm tapping off my brush onto the cloth, rinsing it, tapping it off so I have a dry brush, and it's working like a vacuum to pick up some of that colour, and it's creating this wonderful texture on the left-hand side there. And it brings the colour from the sky into the lower part of the painting as well, which makes for a nice composition and a nice value study as well. A little bit more of the burnt sienna on the edge just to increase the shadows now that we've got some darker colour in the sand. Just dropping some more here and there to give the appearance that there might be some pebbles or a little bit of wet sand in those places. And I really love how the sand turned out. I think it looks really cool. Drying that off again. And I can peel off the rest of the line. And now you can see the effect of the sea rushing inland. I'm going to remove all of the tape, and we still have our kangaroo to add to the picture. Now you could stop at this point if you didn't want to put a kangaroo in. Rubbing off that masking fluid with my finger. And I'm darkening up around the sky because it wasn't quite dark enough. And now I want to add my Aussie kangaroo in the foreground there. I'm going to sketch him in using my mechanical pencil, just the outline to begin. And he's going to be silhouetted against the moonlight with a few little highlights left in. And so I'm just colouring him in with graphite. All over his body, and where his hind legs meet the body, I want there to be a little bit of a gap. Where his arms meet his chest, I want a little bit of white gap left there, so there's a bit more definition to his shape. And leaving some white highlights. And I'll be painting over the top of the graphite with some more Paynes Grey once I've finished colouring him in. I love seeing kangaroos on the beach. We have a caravan that we go to on the south coast in New South Wales at a place called Merry Beach, and it's full of kangaroos, and they all hang out on the sand and near the inlet, and particularly where the water rushes into the sea, there's quite a lot of ducks as well. But the kangaroos are really friendly, very tame. We have very happy memories of family Christmases at Merry Beach, and I am enjoying being able to put this little kangaroo into my Christmas cards. So here's the Paynes Grey going over the top, and I'm careful to still leave a few highlights. And he's starting to come to life now. I'm using a Princeton Zero brush for this, which is a little bit finer than the pocket brush. So this is another Princeton Snap brush in a Zero. And there he is finished. I would like to take this opportunity to wish all of my friends in the Northern Hemisphere a very Merry Christmas, as well as my Aussie friends down here, down under. I hope you enjoyed this project today. I would be so grateful if you give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, as I have almost 300 videos. Bye for now.